So, Sam Seder of the Majority Report reacted to an appearance Tulsi Gabbard made on Fox News the other day. Keep in mind, Gabbard is one of the few politicians in American politics to really speak out and take a stand against the military-industrial complex and the proxy war going on in Ukraine right now. So, let's take a look at what he has to say.
This has been the longest right-wing talking point that exists. Now, we do know certain things about the IRS. We know that as particularly the Republican Party, less so the Democratic Party, although there's probably been some instances where the Democrats have shortchanged the IRS. The more the IRS was defunded, the more they turned their enforcement apparatus to lower income people. Why? Because lower income people were suddenly became the low hanging fruit. Instead of going for the biggest apple, they went for the ones that were easiest to pick because they didn't have, just to extend this horrible metaphor, they didn't have the money to buy ladders to go up and pick the big apples. So they just stayed on the ground and picked the low-hanging, smaller apples. That's what happened. That's a fact. You can see the graph for funding the IRS goes down like this. And the graph for auditing lower income people goes like this. And so the Democrats passed a bill in this most recent legislation that would increase funding for the IRS, much of which was to add 80,000 inspectors, although not all at one time. It's to replace a lot of people who are about to retire. So maintain, maybe slightly increase the number of agents who are going to be working, all good. The better the resources the IRS has, and understanding the scoring of their bills was to get more money out of the IRS. And the places where you're going to increase the revenue that comes in, it's the Internal Revenue Service, is going to be from wealthy people. But right-wingers will say stuff like this. I give you a host of, the fill-in host for Tucker Carlson, but Fox News guest, what's her name? Tulsi Gabbard.
Of all taxpayers. So why in the world do they need $80 billion and 87,000 new hires in order to go after 1% to 2% of taxpayers? Their math absolutely does not add up, which should be frightening and concerning because this means exactly what you said. They're coming after us. They're coming after entrepreneurs. They're coming after small business owners. They're coming after our middle-class, hardworking Americans. There's no question about that. And then you layer on top of that what you just mentioned. Their criminal division with the power of enforcement of a gun, essentially, and how we have already seen, it's not a theory that the IRS has also, like many of these other federal agencies, abused their power to go after political opponents. We have seen them do this with Lois Lerner under the Obama administration. There were no consequences there, and she was directly targeting blatantly conservative organizations. And so this dangerous trend that we are seeing that happened gradually over years, but everything from the IRS to Department of Homeland Security, their counterterrorism division, the FBI, the Department of Justice, we are seeing how they are more blatantly in broad daylight being weaponized to target political opponents of those in power and anyone who dares to dissent or question or challenge their actions and policies. This is government bureaucracy at its worst.
Anybody who's talking about this IRS stuff and attacking the IRS is a right-winger.
So Sam's argument in favor of funding the IRS is that what evidence has showed us is that when the IRS gets defunded, that's when it starts to go after poor people. The thing is, even when the IRS is well funded, millionaires and billionaires, they still find loopholes. They still find ways not to pay their taxes using illegal tax havens, for example. I mean, it's rational for people to distrust the IRS. There's a reason people in working class communities of all different political affiliations and backgrounds don't trust the IRS. And as Tulsi Gabbard pointed out, the government has a long history of political organizations which abuse their power, organizations like the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and the deep state. So when all these organizations keep abusing their power, what makes people believe that the IRS is any different? But Sam has to smear anyone who says they don't like the IRS as being a right-winger. Can he explain how funding the IRS is going to keep billionaires from finding other tax loopholes? He can't. And it just goes to show that Sam is an out-of-touch white liberal who doesn't understand the sensibilities of the working class because he's rich. Sam is the real right-winger. So there you have it.